Second round, 5:53.40. Third round, 5:47.40. Fitzgerald, David. Score, first round, 5:43.20. Second round, 5:50.40. Third round, 5:55.20. Score, so I can hear the crowd reaction when the score is posted. Coming in now for fourth at noon. First round, second round, 5:48.80. Third round, 5:48.20. Neil Kanowski. First round, 5:39.60. Second round, 5:48.20. Third round, 5:48.40. First round, 5:46.40. Second round, 5:46.40.
I was doing so well. Oh, that's right. I got it right.
5-4.
Christmas Eve mistake. I made one. Come on.
Walker from Florida. Junior. Keeper Brown. First round, 5:57.80. Second round, 4:72.60. Third round, 4:62.80. First round, 4:16.60. Second round, 4:22.80. Third round, 5:26.20. Just let the camera go.
Wendy!
Good to see you. Thanks.
Be it people that want to see this. Oh, back there. I can take you with me and give it to those guys and down.
Just doing a nice sweep here, all the way around. Enjoy the large.
Yeah, one in the car. One out of two.
That's the first time that's ever happened. Yeah, the first time that's ever happened in the state.
Yeah. Go down there and he always Texas barbecue.
I got a camera. So we have some winners. First of all, the winner of the advanced category, John Simpson. John, will you come forward?
Yay! Yay!
40 years he's been flying, and finally won an award.
Can't applaud, but I can't keep the film and camera going. Congratulations, John.
Don't block that whole thing.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Let's do a little zoom here.
No.
You're not getting off that easy.
You don't like that shirt. The junior winner. Yes. Keep 180.
Hey!
Go, young man.
Can you hold that one that big?
Hold it out there.
Turn around, Brian.
Hey!
Hold it up.
And senior winner.
Okay, Brian, hold it up.
Time. Very good. And let's see who else we have. Last but not least, certainly, we have a new open stunt champion who just happened to have won the Walker Cup. David Fitzgerald.
Here comes David, right now.
Oh, boy.
Here we go. Woohoo! Yay! All right.
Oh, wasted all.
I was going to think that traditional dance. Oh, hey!
Don't get Derek anymore. Don't take a picture.
Go for it, Brian!
They probably want to get some pictures of the aircraft. So why don't you go get your airplanes over there?
Oh, David, you stink. How about the official?
Yeah. Hands for the officials.
Look at the crowd here today.
Judge, you can decide to be ED. It's a damn sight cooler in there than it is out here by a long shot. These people stood out here for 6 days, some of them, all day, and it's so hot the tar melts, so they deserve a tremendous hand. Shireen and Lila and Kathy back at the tent.
Bring them out. Bring them out. Bring them all out. Bring them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not just know it. Hey, how you
There you go. All right.
The last of the week and I was kicking the other. I don't know.
It's just kind of sweet, isn't it? Wendy, you got a shadow on your face. Everybody get situated, yeah?
Are you ready?
Cut the weight this way, look.
See y'all next year!
One of the ranks on the front.
That's 7:05.
They have a long trip home. Hey Jim, nice to meet you. Brian, I can't see your face. still alone. There you go.
That's weight, I know. Yeah. You gotta spread the weight out.
I'm looking for a place to work, place where like planting on it.
Congratulations, each one of you. You bet. Great job, all of you.
I don't know. I got it all. Right now, you try that at night. Stay with it.
Nice. Just want to take another view here. Sweep the camera around and just keep on sweeping.
Come after the second round and said, Ted, what kind of screws?
I want the 632.
I want my engine back.
Oh, thank God. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Great plan.
Yeah. Pretty nifty.
Kathy, go in and keep it. The new room she's adding on. Yeah, new room she was talking about.
Oh, you did that.
One I didn't show up when I had that.
And I don't have to go to AMA because I just took it.
Pretty consistent.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Ted, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Great
Thank you
plan.
very much. It was a fun NATS. Hard fought. Thank you very much. Jeez. Too easy? I depend a lot on what prop you're put on. On that ABC prop that I suggested, it's probably burned 5 3/4 to 6 ounces. If you get to the point that you're running one of these undercammers, plan on burning more fuel.
We always had a lot of power.
Yeah, we had it there earlier. Down the galley here. Go to the left. That's it. That's it. Turn straight. Just keep on going. It's past the steakhouse. Even more house on the left-hand side. It sits out front of the shop. Big time. Okay, Steve's like what's bigger than it? It's very nice. That's all. Perfect. Their combos are all good. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. Sure. Talk to you down the road. Okay. Sail, you've got to get that sure can. Oh yeah. Now you got some major chain pulling.
Watch yourself over here. Watch over that cooler.
All of it's with where's your camera at?
Where do you want to be? Right there.
The imbecile camera?
Both of them.
Excuse me, sir. Congratulations for it. Great
Thank you
fun.
very much.
Great fun. I got a lot of it on footage.
Very good. Very good.
Whose is this one?
That's Frank's. That's
How
mine.
does this work? You push the switch. No, you're already on. No, it's the top front button.
That's the shutter.
Yeah. How's this?
Well, just turn it on. Now, how do you zoom it?
Zoom is the back, is the rocker switch.
I can zoom like this.
Okay.
Benny and the Jets.
Tricks on me.
Here we are, still. Come on out here. Everybody come on out. Look at it. Uh-oh. Come on out here. You're on film right now. Hey, I'm going to do a zoom on you. Check it out.
Eat your heart out.
Unbelievable. Come on, we're going out here.
There you go. Now just
Check Wendy out. He's got 2 more kids in the family already, and he's not even married. Hey, Wendy!
run with it. There you go. Look at this.
Boy, I'll tell you who's going to like this video. Brazil. Unbelievable.
Let's get the music going. Benny. All right, go ahead. Shoot, we got to go to Pampa Banquet.
Oh, we're having so much fun here. Whoa! Wendy, this little girl right here, we're going to get her straight up, real close.
This is the girl that spilled a quart of soda on John. Who spilled the soda on John? Oh, look at this!
What's your name? Shelby. Say hello, Shelby.
Hi.
Shelby, where you from? Where you from, Shelby? You're from Muncie. Yeah, Muncie, where? Muncie, Indiana. All right, and where's your mommy?
Over there.
Okay, let's go see your mommy. Come on. This is Shelby, isn't she cute? Say hello, Shelby. Hi. Okay, and here's her mommy right here. This is Shelby's mommy from Muncie, Indiana.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Listen, what we're going to do,
All
when we
right.
come back next year, we're going to have the same video. We're going to go burn that place down.
Wait a minute now.
Get this, Pete.
Where's
Come
John?
on, get
Oh,
on.
John.
I got the phone. I got the book here for the address too. Look at that.
Oh!
Bada bing, bada
Woohoo!
Now, hey,
Is it back together?
Okay, now we got.
in the parking lot though. Don't go by the cars.
Now this guy, we have to get him. Who's this?
Jesse.
Hi, Jesse. Now where are you from?
Indiana.
Indiana, huh? Okay. What part of Indiana?
Muncie.
Muncie. Okay, so
You guys ever see yourself on television before?
Yeah.
you have.
There he is.
And where's your mom? Which one?
This one.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's a good glider.
You got 2 of them now. All right.
Look at that. Let's fly to walk a fly all over again.
Stand out with laugh.
Oh, there goes Pizza King's hood again.
Take a video of Pizza King cars.
No way. No.
That in the kid's Camaro.
Nah, we don't.
King, dial in right behind the driver's door.
Right behind the driver's door.
Pizza King, they just entered the kid's car.
Oh yeah, look at that big. Oh.
I see a lawsuit in there.
You can fill that thing with a can of Bondo.
Oh, Bondo Matic.
Try it.
Oh, jeez. send the owner a copy of the tape.
I'm a professional.
Nah, don't believe him. Don't believe he's lying. Whoa! Check it out. It's got a thermo. Woo! You see that? Winnie's taking up gliders.
Here we go.
Hey, what is hey.
Whoa, easy.
Come on back here.
Hey, you got the keys?
It's unlocked. You know, we just ate at Pizza King. This is the second time we've been here. We were here last night, and John Brodak, his son Joe. We had John Clancy, John, myself, Wendy, and John Batavio. And we had, we just had unbelievable time.
Shall we put
Get out of here to get to go through Lincoln. Highway 32 west to Interstate 690 east, 465 south, 465 west. Interstate number 7 to St. Louis. Take I-44 west, Highway 69 south, a big cabin. Oklahoma. There's Wendy making a trade here.
Okay, come on. Here we go.
Okay, here's what we're going to have you do.
Smack him around.
Here, we're going to have to take a picture of your mini.
Smack him around.
Come on, put this on your shoulder. Okay, and look through there. And say, hey, Mommy. Smile.
Smile.
Hi, Mommy.
What do you do about that kid?
Go ahead.
There goes another dent in Pizza King's car.
Look over here and her. And here's your brother. Ah, we got him too. Woo, he's up close.
Here, let me do it now.
Okay, come on over here. You take your jet, you give it to your sister. Okay, ready? Okay, now you look through that, right? Now do everything else. Okay, look over here now. Look at all these people. See them? Can you see them?
Yeah.
Okay, look through them. Keep looking. Okay, so here we go.
I see.
Okay? Okay, good. All right.
Wow, good one. Good.
We got a new camera crew. Next time we come here, these two right here. This one and that one. You're going to be the next camera crew for Wendy's videos.
Let me see the camera for a second. Now the professional takeover dumped this amateur that we got working.
Right. Don't break it.
Shelby,
Okay, now look, we're ending out the Nats. Let's have a little interview here for the Nightly News. John, did you have any fun this weekend?
Oh, my God.
Melinda, she tried food poisoning us at the restaurant. Food poisoned 4 or 5 of the flyers. They'll never be back. Come on, come on.
Just a little excitement.
You're going to food poison us when we come back next year. Is this
Yeah, right.
What do you want, kiddo?
I want to do it too.
What do you want to do?
no, you don't need to
What do you think, I'm made of money?
I'm going to take off. Let's go.
Here's a man making an ass out of himself. Come on, you bozo.
We're going to pick him up on our shoulders, right? We have
All right,
there with
now,
everybody.
all together, Benny and the Jets. Come on, Pete. Bump, 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 Benny and the Jets. Come on.
Not singing some opera. Okay? We'll clear out Monday of me.
This is the man that shot all the bad footage you've seen.
Here we are, the Modern, and there's this new group performing here called Are You In Tune? We're meeting the group. All right, wait a minute. Are You In Tune? We're going to get some footage of this. This is going to go on. Here's my lighter. There you go. We're going to do a close-up of this. Who's that on bass?
Camera guy, it's Bischoff.
His name's Fisheye?
Bill Bischoff,
All right.
event director. We want to hear some Navy carrier.
All right. Ask him to wave.
Why don't y'all play some ace?
The guy in the middle.
Bill, wave. Get him started, huh? Inagata DeVita.
Okay, and the person sitting way over on the left?
Don't have a clue.
Don't have a clue. Oh, yeah, I know who he is. He's on the team racing team. I talked to him last night.
Sweet Home, Alabama.
Yes, he was. He was really tired. He was tired. But he still got a cigarette butt in his mouth. Wonder why he's tired. Put that down, you fool.
Could not stand it.
They're not making lungs anymore. Jesus. and Stairway to Heaven. This is getting good. We need to bring somebody up there. It's starting to really get there. Sounds good. They got a blend going here. Can we all hum together? Can you hum that too? Hey, there you go. Hey Joe. Hey Joe. That's a Jimi Hendrix song.
Hey Bob, come over here and play lead so we can hear the lead over top of the electric.
And over there on, looks like acoustics, is Bob Hunt.
Yeah, I thought of a guest.
Trying to get everybody to say hello here to the camera, but
Your dad was looking for you.
hi Brian. Don't do that, Brian, don't do that. You know why? Because the lens will pick up any kind of moisture and then you'll stain it and they'll have to shut it down. Yeah, seriously, yeah.
That's a windy one.
Yeah, stinks. But I don't have my clean towel. I usually keep them right here. Always. I gotta shut it down now. That's a good way to do it. Here's Alan Brickhouse. Alan, say hello.
Nice little man.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It made it nicer.
Well, yeah, excellent. It looks good.
Thank you.
And the tan goes with it.
Yeah.
You didn't have to pay for that. The sunlight. Yeah.
A lot of people would like to have some.
The finish, I love the touch. They really, they're always there.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did that white paper. Oscar got it.
Well,
This is 17. Okay, what day is he? I got one.
there's a lot of light down there. Light down the window, coming through the window with the sun.
Yeah. Robert Tavio is not going to be here tonight. He is not feeling well.
Okay, and what about you, Michael?
He's right here.
Looking at the camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me have $5 back and I'll give you 5 cents.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, that'll all you got.
Ah, thank you.
It's all in the cash business.
Really?
Free market city.
Okay, Mr. Michael, you want to...
Mr.
Mr. Michael.
My name is Peter.
Peter, you want to...
And your name is?
$17? Paula Berry.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
When you get done making a fool of yourself,
You know Gary Laycheck and Ronald Tool?
Did you sign me in?
they're here. I don't know if they're coming, but...
Well, they're signed up.
Yeah, they're definitely here.
The last two.
Wendy, did you sign me in?
No.
Did you pay me?
No, he's
Wendy.
himself.
About time.
Wendy!
What?
Come back here.
Yeah.
I ain't got any money.
Oh, you just said so. God. I asked you before.
No, I ain't got any money.
You want? Oh, I can't do just did this. I'll pay you straight. He's a good man. Not that good.
Yeah.
203?
1997 Nationals. This is the burger hall. A lot of sunlight here. Hi, Rick. Hey, everybody. Hey, talk like me into doing this, you know. I'm not getting paid for doing this. I don't know.
Are you with this coach?
No, I am not.
Why are you doing it?
Because I wanted to. That's when I came down here, had Bruce, and Bruce went home. Bruce also went home. Yeah. And so, you know, we took over the second alternative to do this. But the primary one was with Bruce. Could I get you to introduce everybody at this table too?
Okay. Yeah, well,
I'm going to come around with the camera. I just want to keep on filming it. We know who this guy is. That's Brian Kiefer. All right. This is Ron Kiefer. Hi, Ron.
How you doing?
Rick Ashley. All right. All right, buddy.
Robert Perales.
Okay. Say hello, Derek. Okay. Keep going. All right. Jim, I had no doing with this camera. I had nothing to do with it. You know that. You know the reasons, right?
The next 38 special will be covered tomorrow.
Okay. I mean, I've taken enough of video to run around the world.
Your eyes are different now. They changed the eyepiece completely.
Unbelievable. Don't tell me I'm starting to look like a raccoon. No, I'm actually, Wendy paid for me, all right? So I'm going to be either sitting there. Who are you guys? You guys are sitting there, right? No. I don't even know if you're going to eat them right. Yeah, when he says at that table, when you sit at that table, absolutely. No, I'm not sure you are. Do me a favor. Don't come with you. Don't call me.
He just recently
just sent me a check and said, do something for the juniors, and I did that. So I tried to follow what people asked of me. John Lowry and Betty Ross were right at Fox 35 for the first place in junior beginner. And I really would like to also thank Bill and Linda Mazzoni of B&L Hobbies for their donations, and the New Albany Skyliners for doing their work, because without their help I could not have done this. But we had 4 juniors and we had 13 senior open, and that's why I think I want to split it for next year. I'm going to start advertising that way. And I think we've already got enough plaques for next year, but we'd like to look toward, if anybody would like to, you got an old Twister or Banshee hanging around somewhere, you want to do something, send it to me, and I promise I will give it to one of the beginners at next year's NATS. I would also like to do this every year. As long as the good Lord keeps me on this earth, I want to do beginners. I want to help those guys. Our 4 winners in junior beginner were Kevin Stewart. Is Kevin here this evening? Right here. All right. It's Kevin Stewart. Why don't you stand up? Big applause. He's breathing hard. Now I'm going to problem. Brian Hancock was our second place. Reed Howard and Charles Howard were third and fourth place. In senior open beginner, Mr. Vic Brannon. Is Vic here this evening? All right. I would like to, since he's not here, I'm going to let you know that he did give us a nice donation for next year, so I really appreciate him very much. Michael Higgins was second. Walt Ligon and his son both flew. I would like to say that all Walt wanted to do was to outscore his son. He did. And because he did that, what he asked for, he just wanted to score, and he wanted the third place trophy to go down to the next one. So then third went down to fourth, and fourth went on down. So I cannot tell you how many nice things have happened to me this year, and I really appreciate everybody. Keith Sargi then became third. Joe Brodak was fourth, and Brian Skees was fifth. I really want to thank all of you. I cannot tell you how many nice things have happened to me this year. And this is just a wonderful time. These last 10 days have been excellent. And you people are wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, there's been a little talk about some people possibly wanting to have intermediate. John Simpson has volunteered to run the event in the grass next year, if that's possible. That may not happen, but he'd like to have that happen. Tom Morris, and Tom Morris wants to run it. John Simpson told me about it. That's okay. I'm sorry. Blame that one on me. Throw tomatoes or whatever you want. Okay, with that, I'd like to hand the microphone over to Warren, who's been the event director the last 2 years, and he's done an outstanding job, and he deserves a big round of applause.
Every time I see one of these, somebody's sick, so that just depresses the hell out of me. I don't want to see one of those again. First of all, the thing that I have to do is acknowledge the people that made this whole thing possible. And I have to start out with Shireen Fancher, Computer Whiz. Admittedly, she had just a little wee bit of help from her son Jeff, who I think one evening we spent an hour and a half or so on the phone because the wizard McClellan changed what he decided he was going to do. But we got over it, and by Thursday, Shireen was speaking to Gary, and everything was fine. But Friday, actually. In addition to Shireen, Lila Lee was there, and Kathy Fitzgerald was there until about 10 o'clock this morning, and then she became a stunt wife. She flat disappeared. I don't know. So I don't know what she was concerned about. But, in addition to those people who really, you cannot believe the number of hours that these people put in. The computer helps, but we got it was a dot matrix printer that had wooden spoke wheels on it. They were so old, and but it was better than what we had when it came. So the thing worked fine, and we had to change the printing module in it. The thing worked fine, but it will reduce the time required, and the results of the computer system has really helped. We can put our hands on the results almost instantly and do lots of things that we were unable to do before, and saves a lot of handwriting on their part. So their days were reduced. They were clear down to 14, 16-hour days. So it was really a tremendous system, and we owe the Finchers a great deal for that. So I'd like to hear a little bit of applause for those folks. And boy, I have never seen a French name with a G in it before. T's, I know how to do with those because you just don't say it. The G's don't work, but I'm going to just say it the way it looks to me, and that's a Sumergu, but whatever. Their family was here. They were the, quote, French team. Wonderful people, all of them. And they wrote a note, put it up on the board, but for those of you who didn't happen to see it, we're busy looking at the results today, I'd like to read it to you. It said, the family, the French team, wants to express to all the nice people that we have the chance to meet here their hearty feelings. We have to leave today. We don't say goodbye, but so long. Please come to us, and we also hope to be able to come over again. Send the family. So, that's great stuff. In addition, we have a group of Japanese entrants, I murdered the French name, but Kaz, you're going to have to come up here and introduce me. I know you, but I'm not stupid. Here, Kazi.
On her honeymoon? Is that? Oh, yeah. I didn't do that. I'm sorry, I still have poor English.
A lot better than our Japanese.
It is always a big pleasure that we can join you. And we love you all, and such a nice people. We think that U.S. National is the most fun contour line competition in the world. And we are hoping to participate in this again and again to the future, if you say okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce our member to use this opportunity. First, Mr. Nobune. This is his second NATS, and he's doing very well and getting much better. Although he crashed his airplane 5 days ago, and he did a good repair job. And second, Masaru Hiki. Also, this is second NATS for him. As you probably noticed, he's a good pilot, and unfortunately for me, he's sometimes better than me. And he's working for Texas Instruments. Very good. And third, Mr. Nakabayashi. Maybe I don't have to say he's a funny guy. He's very happy to get 19 points at the piano. However, he needs more and more practice. That's Mr. and Mrs. Yokoyama. As somebody says, they choose this trip as their honeymoon. Actually, I am personally anxious that his wife will have good understanding for this hobby after this trip. I think probably okay because she was shopping at the Kmart over there while her husband was practicing. Thank you again, you accept us, and we are hoping to have a good relationship with you to the future. Thank you very much.
judged a great deal in England and FTB and international competition, so he added a lot to the situation for us, and we appreciate it. Bob Parker, Gary McClellan, Kenny Stout, Doug Tappender, who we just can't say enough about. He supports us with trophies. He brings fuel here and then can get people to pick this stuff up. And I'm going to bring him up here in just a second after I finish this. But Lee Lorio has been around lots and lots of years. Rich Peabody, fresh judge for us this year. Mark Overmeyer, Carl Lutens. Bob Hunt has taken a year off until he figures out how to make push outs and lead outs last for a period of time. Yeah, but he promises he's going to have 25,000 lead outs in the next tour, and there's a lot of other people out there using them, and they work very well. So this thing isn't a pipe 60 confrontation anymore. Everybody's flying out there and having a good time, so it works. But Big Jim is back in the hospital. He's had just about everything that can go wrong with you, and he continues to survive. There's a card that's going around, and please sign it and wish him well and put him in your prayers. Now, let's get to a little happier side of this thing. On Monday, we had an old-time stunt event as well as a classic event, but let's start with old-time. Jim Lee, I snagged him on Sunday night, and he was our event director, or CD. And by the way, he did not volunteer for next year, so be advised, all of you in this room, that there is required a CD for old-time stunt, because Larry Bergman volunteered for classic next year. So if anybody is happy to volunteer and you can be the CD and fly in the event, come see me. So, with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Jim Lee, and he's going to tell us what happened in Ultimate Stunt. Jim?
Thank you, Roy. I look out on this sea of shining sunburned faces, and I must admit, you all clean up pretty good. Old-time stunt, NATS 97. Doug Tappender, John DeTavio sat out there for over 8 hours to look at 30 old-time flyers strut their stuff. Rich Peabody ran scores or walked them occasionally. Paula Barrickman, Lila Lee tabulated. I kind of sort of ran it. It was a fun day. It was a very long day. The judges were tired, sunburned, thirsty, whatever. But we had an excellent turnout. Very little.
Old-time stuff. Tom Looper.
Third place.
Oh yeah, I'm going to get him.
And the John Nisk Perpetual Trophy will be going back to New Jersey with Jim. And we've got 2 special awards for old time. The Spirit of 52, which was selected by the judges, and the Concourse Award, which was selected by the pilots. The Spirit of 52 Award, Tom Looper.
Did not expect that. Thank you.
And the Concourse Award. This was voted on by the pilots. Several planes got votes. One plane got a lot of votes. Tommy Looper's Viking. And that was Old Time Stunt. We'll see y'all next year.
Kind enough to be the CD, and then he brings along his own personal tabulator. Paul, thank you very much for all of your hard work. The trophy sponsor is, as you know, Randy Smith, and he is very supportive of the event, but let us get on to the results, which I don't have. Well, they're up here somewhere. There they are. Okay. 5th place. I'm sorry. 5th place is Carl Levins, who I think escaped and went home. Is that correct? Yeah. Carl went home yesterday. Somebody will get it to him hopefully. 4th place was Jim Lee, and I know he's here.
Is this you here? No.
3rd place is John Simpson, and this is before he modified the rudder of his beautiful Cavalier. Chad, why is it that you do better in advance with the same airplane as you do in Classic? It's amazing. Number 2, Dave Hemstrader at PT-19, for which he is well known, and he skated this afternoon after the Walker Cup was over, so we'll make sure that he gets that award.
Water?
Yes, sir.
I live 20 miles from his house, I'll take it to him.
Okay, good enough. Thank you very much, Ted. Appreciate it.
You have to get him a look now. So I'm going to pick up a trophy.
Okay, and number 1, we finally got that thing to run. We fought it all weekend in Tucson. Bob Whiteley. Congratulations.
Start off on a somber note there. One of the other members that were a happy family here suffered a stroke on the way out. Nick Lenack from Tucson, Arizona, and we wish you to remember him in his prayers. His son says he's coming along nicely. For us, this is kind of strange. It's the end of the season for us already because Nick's getting a knee replaced 4 weeks from today about. But even better, on the 4th of July weekend of this year was the 20th anniversary of Carolina Taffender. This was only possible thanks to the people in this room and all your friends back home that fly our stuff that don't make it to the Nationals, all those sport flyers that support AMA and we play within the local area contests. If it wasn't for folks like you, I wouldn't be a successful businessman. And I'd love to thank each and every one of you now. God bless you, and we have a long and happy association.
I run Doug's fuel too, that's what
You will.
9th place, and I believe this is his first Nationals. I believe they had to leave early. James Pollock. Let's see, we got somebody here. Oh, you want to take it, John? Thank you very much. It's Aniston. In 8th place, Steve Millet. You go, Peter. 7th place is Alan Goff. Okay, anybody live near Alan?
Who lives in Muncie?
Who lives in Muncie? Well, that's probably a long way to come, so we couldn't make it. Okay, in this town, you probably get lost, I'll tell you. I don't know how you find your way around here. 6th place, Marvin Denny. Yeah, Marvin's not here, he's on his way back, I said. 5th place, I know he's here, Ron Woodman. Fourth place, his brother crashed and they had to get back to Dallas, but Doug Moon was the winner of 4th place. He's going to take that one.
Who wrote for Doug Moon?
Who's this guy?
Third place is Steve Starr. Oh, then he's going to stay around. Second place, Patrick Schuett. He's gone. He's good. He's a great big sucker. Oh, he's going about a foot from last year.
Oh, he feels to give mine.
Catalan either.
Alan.
Alan got it? Did you get it? Sam Star.
No, Star's up here.
I got Star. He told us to take it.
Alan picked up Shoes.
Okay, here.
Which one of you guys had the one time? First place is...
No, wait a minute.
Sit down.
Sit down, Alan. You don't get any more trophies. First place is John Simpson with a white Cavalier.
John Simpson.
Flying an airplane that's almost 30 years old in the design, it makes you kind of wonder if we really made a whole lot of progress after all, doesn't it? Okay, getting over to, we're going to cover both junior and senior stunt here. It was a good deal. We had 5 juniors entered. We had a lady that did not show up, but we had 4 juniors. The whole Howard family, except for his father, and Brian Kiefer. But at third place was a young man by the name of Charles T. Howard. Don't they live near you, Alan? Second place was R. Ryan Howard.
He's not here either.
He's not here either, obviously. First place, I knew this fella's here. Brian Kiefer. Come on up and get the trophy.
Come on up, Brian. Look at that.
In the senior category, third place, I know these folks have gone home. These are the Frenchmen. I don't know who wrote these notes. I've got gorgeous Georges here, but actually, Georges Sergei. Why did you let me say this about 6 times before you corrected me, hon? You paying me back for the line joke? And second place was Pascal Sergei. But first is our own homegrown, several-time senior national champion and also world junior champion, Derek Berry. Watch out, guys, that 526 was for real. Without pattern points.
Without appearance points.
Without appearance points. Let's say we put about 15, 16 in that. That's in the 540s. See, you don't have to be 50 years old to fly stunt.
You're not.
Tell me about it, William.
You're going to take some lessons from Derek.
Like you told me, Tucson, stunts hard. Getting into the open category, I'd like to start with the special awards. The Rookie of the Year, I thought he was going to fly a bislog, but he didn't. He ended up flying a very nice-looking stiletto. Dan Banjock.
Yeah. All right, Dan.
And the Concourse Award, it was a very close vote. It's kind of a Polish award here. It's Wendy Urtnowski with that beautiful song. So by the name of Bob Kieske. Barrett, come on up here.
Which ones are?
The Howard crew? I think the real one.
The Howard was the third and the second place in junior. The dent in the international competitors made a dent in the top 20. Mr. Nagomi. In 8th place is Masaru Hiki. And in 7th place, I think he bribed him to so he could beat the rest of his countrymen. Casminato. As far as I'm concerned, Kaz, you and your countrymen are welcome anytime. 6th place is Bill Rich, who is not here anymore because he got an assignment from his boss late yesterday afternoon for Tuesday, so they left early this afternoon. Now we get into the top 5. In 5th place, flying a beautiful Seafire, Wendy Urtnowski. 4th place, and his best NATS finish ever, and I should say it's certainly a well-deserved one. Our, at this point, unopposed presidential nominee, excellent, I should have Frank McMillan. Frank.
Great flying.
3rd place, we don't recognize it because this year he's got his real gray hair. Bill Rich. Bill was just stomped by Ted Fancher, who beat him by 0.2 of a point. Bill, do you realize that's 1 point from one judge? I mean, you got to talk nice to these guys. Mr. Ted Fancher. 2nd place. And last, but certainly not least, our National Open Champion, Walker Cup winner, and to everybody's knowledge that I talked to, the first person in the history of the event who has won the Junior Championship, the Senior Championship, and the Open Championship, David Fitzgerald.
All right.
I'd like to say that probably the most important person that helped me out through all of this is my lovely wife, Kathy. If she hadn't set out to do this, the next person was probably my dad. My brother and I, one summer for a couple of weeks in a row, kept bugging him to let us go out and fly this old squaw that he had, this old molding squaw hanging up on the garage door wall. And after that, probably Ted Fancher. about his design expertise and all of his help in coaching, and Shereen letting Ted do this event. Without any of these people and everybody else in the room, I surely do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, excuse me, there's a hand raised. Woody Midgley. He doesn't have any weapon in his hand, so we're going to let him talk.
Thank you, Warren. I have been your pit boss for probably 4 years, and I think we're going to try it again for next year. I would also like to say that I have heard many times tonight thank yous for many individual people. But I'd like to say thank you to every single flyer that I had the opportunity to protest, because you were they were perfect gentlemen, every one of you. It was a pleasure to work with you, and I really look forward to doing it again.
No, we forgot. That's just all you remembered that we forgot. Yeah, maybe we should get it, so I'll give it to myself. Yeah, we did forget it. And it's kind of a dumb word anyway. We forgot it on purpose. That's really, I think, Larry, do you have anything else to add?
No, other than see you next year.
That's right. Same place, the same week, and probably going to be a bunch of the same people doing this all over again. Take care.
Went right in front of him and he snapped, and then he got in. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else except in the Northwest Award and American. Dan Bagshot, Rookie of the Year. Thanks, Dan. Oh yeah, I'm not going to try to film them all. I just want to get one on the start. I'm not going to try to take every name off that trophy and put it on tape. I just want to get this caption on this trophy. Since it was brought in 1946. It is something. I'd like to get a shot of this trophy with Dave Fitzgerald's name on it. The reason, because this is my first national coming here. And to me, the experience that I felt from what has happened this whole week cannot be put in words. Not yet. So we're going to do a close-up of this. Everybody here was very understanding of what I was doing out here in the field. And for me as a beginner, especially with this camera, which I am not a professional, I just want to let everybody know this is an incredible experience. I'm not going to say I'm not going to try to ever forget it. I'm going to always remember it. So we're going to do this close-up shot right now. You can see the engraving has just started. So, Dave, congratulations.
All right, see you guys at the team cross.
Yeah, I heard that again.
At the modern one. And guess who's up there at the bar? Okay, John Batavio.
We did. You ever the
Oh, he's not telling the truth. He's not without that camera.
Hold this thing, look at this, will you? Now that's a prop. Hey, that is nice. I'll tell you that. How many years you got? 5.
No money, just... One of the Japanese guys gave me this picture. From Pasco, Washington, they were in Pasco. Oh, beautiful shot. Look at it. They gotta send them something. This is for the... They call it
This is almost towards the end of this tape 10. And I really can't still explain what's going on. It's just this is really getting right to the end of the tape. I'm just going to focus. There's Brian and there's Wendy. I'm just trying to run this tape down. You too, Brian. Good job, Brian. Yep. Good going. Who's Dale?
John and Tina was in the bar, getting drunk.
No, John.
There's no way you can get this in the car.
John doesn't drink. There's no way. He was drinking water.
Was he drinking?
No, he was having a beer. A brewski. No, it was a brewski you drink. Yeah, this camera works good right outside.
Well, we're leaving Indiana. Look at the sun's coming up here. Beautiful. Beautiful farm country. We're going to get back to Jersey. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. And I want to really thank Pete Michael. I want to thank everybody. We really have had one of the best NATS of all time. The most fun I can remember. John's headed to Texas. I'm headed home to feed the fish. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope we've actually got everybody that participated in this NATS either in their awards or in the flying or just hanging around having fun. But basically we got 12 hours of what you see right now. Just looking at the road go by. And it's been a good one. It's preserved now forever, so for future generations, you know, when Brian Kiefer grows up, we can film his old video. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and see you back at the shop soon. 12 hours. Sunrise is beautiful. I just can't believe how nice this is. We head out, it's almost 5 o'clock, and we're just going to see the whole sunrise here on this trip. But boy, again, it's just such a good feeling you get on the way back from one of these get-togethers, see all your old friends. Little by little, they're all getting grayer and older and more decrepit and everything. It always is a good time. The ride home is always pleasant, relaxed. And you know you have a year now to look forward to another one. Beautiful downtown Columbus, hey. Taste Jersey already. 7-8 hours. Oh, West Virginia. Welcome to West Virginia. Anyway, this is just before the midpoint in the trip. It gives us a lot of time to reflect on. Gives me a lot of time to reflect on. Just what a really good NATS this is. Coming up on a good old Wheeling tunnel.
so good to be back in the state of Jersey. 12 hours later, here we are closing in on Jersey. You know, whenever you're away from home, you know, it's always so good to get back to where everything is friendly and polluted and things you're comfortable with. Anyway, hey, I gotta say, honest, it's been a long ride. I've had a lot of time to analyze things. I really am happy to say the Sea Flyer is only one of 5 planes in the history of the event to ever be awarded 20 appearance points. Of course, I'm thrilled with the concourse. That's the 5th one. In the flying, I think I could have done a little better. There's still only 4 people that got to get ahead of me, so I guess it's not too bad. I guess I have a lot to be happy for. And I get to feed the fish. I'll be home in time to get the fish fed. Ooh, look at this, we got a cop up here. Oh, boy, there's been cops out all over the place today. The deal is. Well, we're back home before dark. Actually, we came back sooner than we thought, and it was a nice trip. I want to congratulate, of course, David Fitzgerald for some awesome flying under a lot of varied conditions. And special thanks to Shireen, to Gary McClellan, Lauren Tiart, all the people at Mail, the runners, Woody Midgley, Bob Roberts, all the people that make this event possible. And a special, very special thanks to Charlie Presler for these props. I have 5 of them now. I guess I'm about as lucky as you can get with having these. It's one of my special little treats. And it's a fitting end for what I hope has been a real good series of tapes here. I hope we've gotten everybody on this tape, in fact. This set, I hope we've got everybody at least once, so that years from now, we kind of look back and you can, hey, see exactly what we were doing. I know one of the things that really doesn't show up on the tape, but there's a lot of people that maybe had some friendships mended that were split in the past. I know I have. And I hope that's going to be an ongoing tradition. Of course, good luck to Frank McMillan. Best of luck to Frank McMillan. He'll obviously be the president soon, and hope he'll take the reins of command and do a fine job, of which I'm sure he's capable of. I hope you all enjoyed the videos. We tried to get everybody. Special thanks to Peter Michael. Now, by Peter doing a lot of the videotaping for me. And hey, I hope you don't mind the fact we put in even the things, the motel room interviews and John DeTavio misbehaving, and because this is what the NATS really was to us anyway, and we really did have a great time. I have to say it over and over again. This was one of the best ones I've ever been to. And now it's in the record books, and the only thing left to do is unload the van, pack, and start getting ready for the team trials. Just another side note, we started this set of tapes off with feeding the fish, and you know what? They're still hungry. Anyway, my ongoing hobby here is turning into, I don't know, a labor of love. A lot of fun. We really have enjoyed these guys. And it's really nice coming home from a long trip and having them out here to fool with. And we actually have, and I'm going to get him on the tape sooner or later. I can't find him now. We have one polywog that's become a real frog, and he was sitting on the lily pad just before while Karen was out here. So hey, we're going to unload, get down the shop, and then now it's back to reality. As if there was such a... Now maybe this is the most important part of, well, try to explain this in a way that makes sense. This is one of the things I try to do every year. I get back from the NATS. And the first decision I try to make, and this may sound a little politically incorrect, but I always try to make it anyway, I always watch the tapes. Now it's my feeling that these tapes contain really good information for me, and actually not for me, but for all the people, friends, customers, whatever, because that's recorded now under conditions that I can't go back and duplicate very easily. The conditions of flying out at Muncie are certainly totally different than at the Circle Burner Field, Middlesex, any of our fields. So I need to be able to take advantage of the fact that I can go back and watch those flights over and over again and learn things from them. Now, the first impression I get, and I've already watched the tapes a couple of times, especially the ones with the significant flights of mine, is first thing we're going to do is congratulate Dave Fitzgerald, new national champ. He's certainly, in my opinion, the totally best flyer of the week, had the most consistent flights. He was the winner on Top 20 Day. I believe I might have been ahead of him on the early rounds, but they really don't count anyway. It's the end ones that count. And on Top 20 Day, I was the second. It was Dave and Wendy on Top 20 Day, so I have to come away from this thinking, yeah, everything, we were all in the mix here. And this is the first significant impression I've gotten from the Nats, is in the early rounds, then you have Top 20 Day, and then you have the finals. Now, it's real important to note some of the advantages you can have, and some of the advantages that you can take advantage of. Now, in the early rounds, places were changing back and forth. I believe Billy Werwidge won a round. I believe even Kaz was up there. I'd have to go back and look at the score. But these early rounds, they kind of shake things down. Then we get up to Top 20 Day. Top 20 Day, as I said before, it was David was first. I was second. And significant for me is I had the high flight, the single highest flight of Top 20 Day. Now, what's significant about that is had I been able to take two of those high flights into the finals, and I was not able to do that, if I had two of these flights, well, obviously the results might have changed. But that's the key here. And one of the things that a lot of people overlook is they'll come away from a Nats like this and say, oh, yeah, I got to scrap the whole plane, or I got to run off and build a twin-engine plane, or I got to do this or that. You have to look at this realistically. I think we were in the hunt early in the week when we really were still dialing in the plane. When push came to shove under pressure, we had the last flight here, by the way, I was real happy with the results. Finals day, I don't know if I could have pulled one out of my hat. The last two flights were certainly better than the first one. But again, I had gotten some good feedback. Bill Zimmer was a big help. Bob Hunt actually gave me some good feedback. And on finals day, what I really needed to do, but it didn't happen, was have two of these Top 20 flights. Well, we know that's history now, so there's no point going back and reliving it. But here's the significant thing, is we really did have that. And we know the plane is capable of flying it. We know that part of it that might be a little bit short on cash is the windy part of it, but certainly the plane, the motor combination, the prop combinations were really working very well, even better than I expected. But what we really want to do now is we want to build on the information that we have. And I think some of the areas that we can make improvements on, right now, my feeling is I still can do some work with props. I can still make improvements. Now, I wound up using the full 13-inch prop on the runway, which I have no way of testing this here. I have to go by my gut feelings. And what I want to do now is I want to get another one of those rev-ups if I can find one, and I want to make one up a little bit bigger diameter, maybe 13 1/4. Because it's that direction that we were going in. In the Circle Burner Field, we were down around 12 1/2. Even at Massachusetts, we were in smaller and smaller diameter props. They were all working fine. Out on the runway, bigger diameter was definitely working. Now, I also have from Bill Lee, we're going to start doing this. I'm going to do a couple of these up for Dave, for Woody, and for myself. We have some carbon, 13-inch. I also have a 13-inch that I had a special one that I made and I never really have tested. So what I have here is a day of prop testing, but what's significant now is I know when I go back out to Muncie for the team trials, I know I'm going to want more and more diameter, that it's the diameter that was helping me out on the runway. So I want to take all of the props that I have, and I haven't even balanced them or shaved them or anything yet, I want to go for maximum diameter. Now that's the thing I came away from this NATS, realizing that airplane under those conditions really needed the maximum diameter that I could get on the plane. I was totally convinced by the end of it that if I had even more diameter, I could have slowed the plane down more, had maybe a little bit bigger overhead 8. And these are the things you learn from being out on the runway. And to come away from it, the video confirms it. I want to do some more work on props. I also have another area that I haven't been able to. You just run out of time is what happens. I have several choices of tube mufflers. I have the Merco. In fact, I've got a couple of Mercos from England. They're unobtainable. I only have one or two, so I'll have to be real careful about not stripping one out or anything. I have the Randy Holcroft, yet to test. I have an Adam Eason. The reason I want to spend a little bit of time testing tube mufflers, these are the things you just run out of time. If you had all this time before the NATS, and I'm leading into something a little bit sophisticated, but I think you'll get the point, and I think it's a real significant point. We've really only had tongue mufflers on a plane because one of the things we wanted to do is that appearance judging. We really didn't want to have a big muffler hanging out of the plane. That was not part of that program, and obviously we already have the 20-point award and the concourse in the bank and whatever, so we can do away with that. And now we can try, for the team trials, there's no appearance points. So for the team trials, and you might be saying, well, why not just go and run the tongue muffler at appearance judging and then come home and put the other one? Well, we don't really like to do that either. I'd like to keep it kind of legit. I mean, I feel like it should be legit anyway. Anyway, for the team trials, we would like to give this a chance, a choice. Now, one of the things that I've found in the past, when you're running maximum diameter props, when you're really, really loading the engine down, a tube muffler can have a little bit of an advantage because the motor will usually run a little bit cooler, some anyway, and torque. Big Jim has always told me there's more torque with a tube muffler. I'm sure he's right. In the case here, we have an under 60-ounce plane with a 13-inch prop. We're not worried about the torque so much, but now we want to hopefully take this up a notch. And with the props that we have, and with the muffler combinations, possibly what we're hoping we're going to achieve by the time the team trials comes around is more torque, not more power. And because I have this information now from a recent visit out to Muncie, I know these are the directions I want to go in. I like the way the plane performed. I was real happy with the speed control. That was one of the nicest things. And in fact, I could have been more competitive. I think one of the maneuvers that I had a real problem with, and I don't know why, I was making the hourglass shaped like that. And when I went back and looked at the videos, I confirmed that I was doing that. Bob Hunt even told me about that. This is one of the things that I need to work on. I want to work on more torque. I want to work on bigger props. Now I'm leading this in this direction because I want to make a very significant statement. All of this is something that you want to consider yourself, even people in the lower skill classes, is what happens is you want to have all these choices and you want to use them up. But what's ultimately going to happen if it's a new plane, you have limited time. Now you'll notice this, Dave Fitzgerald, Ted Fancher, both, I think even Frank, were flying planes that were 2, 3, maybe even 4 years old, had many seasons of flying on them. They've already gotten to test all these things. They've already tested, I'm sure David has had more than one motor in a plane and more than one pipe and more than one handle and lines and solids and braideds and everything. We're still in the infant stage, but we're trying to get as many of these done as possible. Now there's a reason for that. I can't, in all good conscience, go back and fly a plane that's 2 and 3 and 4 years old. It's just not my thing. I just like building a new plane every year and having it real pretty, and that's one of the things I enjoy about the hobby. But certainly if you're looking to be the most competitive you can be, the most competitive plane is always going to be an old plane. I mean, Paul Walker used this to his advantage many times. Many other people have used planes 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Now, Billy Woolridge was struggling along with a new plane. I was kind of nursing one through. I don't know about Frank. I don't know that. I think that plane is a year old, but I'm not sure. But the choice is, and Big Jim has told me this many times, you should always fly last year's plane this year. Well, yeah, if you're totally competitive, I think, yeah, you could do that, but that's not what I'm trying to achieve in the hobby. But there is an advantage, and there's something to always consider, is just before you go to the NATS, if you have a relatively new plane, think about maybe flying last year's plane and maybe scoring a little bit better or whatever. But if you really like the idea of having a new plane every year and pretty propellers and semi-scale and all the other things that come into it, all the intangibles, well, then you're locked in where I am of having to try to trim a plane out with limited time, limited resources, and trying to use a very limited amount of time at Muncie to develop a plan for the next year. And that's what we're in the middle of trying to do right now. Now, what I tried to do, I went down to the machine shop, and I tried to make a schedule. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to meet this schedule, because from now until the team trials is a little bit less than a month before we actually have to leave. So we really have about 28 days. Now, of the 28 days, there's going to be 4 contests, so that really eats up 8 flying days. That leaves us 20 days. Now, of those 20 days, what's going to happen inevitably, 5 of them it's going to rain, 10 of them it's going to be too windy. So we're looking at maybe 5 to 10 days left to work on our package, work on our stunt pattern, work on our program before we have to get ready to go to the team trials. And of those 5 or 10 days, one day is going to be a packing day for sure, and one day is going to be I'm sure a day of getting ready and something unexpected happens or whatever. But having this little plan, I know I'm limited now to 5 or 10 days. What I want to try to do is maximize it. I want to get all my props ready, so possibly in one day I can do props, another day I can do mufflers, then I can maybe do some cross-referencing and maybe come up with a team trials combination, and then maybe from that have 3 to 5 days of practice. I don't know if that's going to work out, but having this as a plan, it's always good to be realistic about how many days you have, because what happens as these contests sneak up on you, realize, ooh, it's a week to go, ooh, 7 days to go, 8, oop, it rained, oop, you didn't feel good that day, oop, the wife had to go to the doctor or something, and what happens, you really don't have as much time in the end as you think you have. So coming up with this plan, what I'm going to try to do later today or tomorrow is get all my props ready, all my mufflers ready, get the plane all checked out. Another thing I want to try that I haven't tried is the little bushing in the tail where the control horn is. We've only really tried the bottom hole and the top hole. We really have never even tried the middle hole. So that's one of the things I'm going to try. And I want to try putting a bushing in that, tighten up the controls, and then try it with the bushing in and bushing out. There's still options within options left to try here. And this is one thing I really have to sort it out and figure it out. I have to do it very methodically because I'm really going to be limited in how many days I have before we actually can go out, and we have to make that nice 750-mile ride back to Muncie. So a plan is always a good idea. Okay, in today's mail, real neat stuff. Got a lot of neat stuff here in today's mail. Some nice pictures, some photos. Now, this is from Mike Schall. He's in Linwood, New Jersey. He's been watching a bunch of tapes, and he noticed something. He says, oh, gee, you don't have any country and western music. So what he did, he recorded me up some country and western music. And anybody that doesn't know this, I try to change the music in the background constantly because I find music to be a real important part of building. I'm in this shop 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. And if I sit here and listen to the same music over and over and over, it makes me crazy. So what I always try to do is have a variety of music. I love opera. I usually don't have a lot of classic music, but Jim Damarella's given me, actually a lot of people have given me a lot of tapes. I shouldn't say that. We'll add this to our collection. Mike, look for it on future videos. And if you get sick of my opera tapes, hey, call John DeTavio. Tell him to stop singing. Anyway, appreciate it a whole lot. Okay, this is for Bob Martens, and now for anybody that doesn't know, the Seafire plans are completed. They're out being CAD-cammed, and they are awesome. I guess everybody's seen them already. Anybody needs a set or a canopy or some other parts, so let me know. Now here's the deal. One of the things I collect, and I suggest everybody do this, Noel Drinback has sent me, actually 50 people have probably sent me stuff. There's always these great little catalogs, and you're sitting around with nothing to do, right? There's never anything on television. And I noticed looking at, there are some really neat stuff that's not available in hobby shops. All kind of brass tubing, all kind of cutters, all kind of little metal benders. If you were making tanks, that would be a nice thing. Just pointing out things, all kind of things that go in a Dremel tool. Things for actually HO train pliers and cutters and everything. Now the cool thing about all these, all the knives, what's cool about these is the prices are usually a lot less than hobby shops. They're usually sometimes even half or less. And there's always things available from these catalogs that aren't available in hobby shops. Some of these right-angle this little router tables, shaper tables. There's always a lot of stuff. If you have one of these catalogs, they're always free. Now there's just things within things within things here. Always to save them all, keep them. You're never going to be sorry you have these. Now I leave mine right in the bathroom there, so when it's a reading time, among other things, you can just sit and all of a sudden you'll find something, ooh, that's a great tool. Why didn't I look at that? Why didn't I have it? Speed controls, all kinds of things. This one in particular, this is from Micromark. You can get the address if you want to send for it. Most of them are either free or almost free. And if they aren't free, invest $1. Buy one less Burger King or something and get the catalogs and check out the stuff. Now I know Noel Drinback, he probably has 1,000 of these catalogs. This is where he gets a lot of his stuff, from these high-tech catalogs. Now this came in today's mail. This is from Bob Martens also. And this is a copy of something that I had. I guess it's not a copy. It's, I don't even know the right. Walt Russell had sent me this a while ago. The deal is you loosen this Allen screw and you can slide the number 11 blade up and down. I think we're going to run this in Stunt News sooner or later. And maybe even leave a full-size little thing in Stunt News. It's a good reference because you have a nice base plate. It's a good reference for referencing off your center lines, for ring jigs, even for lost foam jigs, and no matter how you do it, it can't hurt to have that. That's an excellent idea. Anyway, this is from Bob Martens, and I appreciate it a whole lot. We'll be sending this in to Stunt News eventually once I get this written up. I'm just going to go through these real quick. This is from Bob Martens. This is the project that he's working on right now. So he's kind of excited about it. I don't know, the wing looks a little small for stunt. I don't know. Just some general things, some carbon fiber layup and mock-up stuff. Obviously, we're just going to run this by real quick. Bob is really in some high-tech stuff here. And I hope with... Holy mackerel, look at this. This is what Adamusko's working on right now. The vertical takeoff deal. That's what Adamusko is actually working on right now. Working for the company that's doing it. Here's the pivot shaft. Anyway, there's a lot of this. There's no end to this stuff. Some really cool stuff. And of course, to end it all off, he sends me this to break my heart. BSA 500 Gold Star. He doesn't know how many miles I rode my Gold Star. Anyway, Bob, thanks a whole lot. Thanks for keeping us in touch with what's going on in the high-tech world of Bob Martens. This is a photo that's sent in by Dawn Kaler, and the Kalers are going to be here Friday to do a little repair, and then we're going to go out to what I hope is still going to be a surprise going-away party for this guy. Joe, you're a bum. Moving to Arizona. Anyway, nice photo of his lark, and we hope he has the best of luck in his new home out in Phoenix and Tucson or wherever he's moved. Do you know where you're moving, Joe? Do you have a clue? Probably you moved to Albuquerque by mistake. Hey, good luck, Joe. I got some pictures from Joe Ortiz here, too. I'll just read the captions. Most of the Flushing Control Line Association gathered at the flying field. Too many names to mention. They're all in the witness protection program, but are all having a great time, helping to coordinate the summer contest on July 27th. This is Jimmy Borelli launching Joe Ortiz. His Ed Southwick designed Lark at the Circle Burner contest at Lincoln Park. Hey Joe, that's a nice stance. This is Henry Forbes with his PA-6, a classic Bob Barron design, flying with a Max S. Nice set of photos. Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate them, and we will try to get these into Stunt News before the deadline, which is Friday. Now, this is a real interesting letter. This is from Norway. This is from a customer of mine, and a customer is a friend, too. His name is Klamer Metzer. Now, yeah, the real unique problem here, and this is probably something a lot of people could learn from. This is an ordinary ringmaster with plywood doubles and everything. He says the motor runs perfect. Then what happens is he puts that same motor in this Nobler. And what happens is it won't run worth, well, we won't even say. What happens is he doesn't get a motor run. Now, what he's asking me for is to take a look at it and figure out if I can come up with a solution. Well, I'm going to come up with a tentative solution. I would be willing to bet this plane, from looking at all this lightweight construction, probably doesn't have plywood doublers, or if it does, it's got some really flimsy lightweight construction. So I'm going to send him a nice note back. We've been exchanging letters. But the point is, a lot of times you can tell if a motor runs or doesn't run. If it runs in one plane, it runs here. You put it here and it doesn't run, it isn't the motor. Something in the construction is resonating. So I'm going on in his letter. I do have a vibration or a resonance problem in the Gieske Nobler. The vibration comes and goes and can be felt through the lines. Woo, that's really big time when you can feel it in the handle. Do you have any suggestions? So, here's my answer. No plywood. Anyway, we're going to write him a nice letter, try to share some of this information with him, but that's really basic, good information. Never leave out the plywood doublers. Now, as if this wasn't enough, look at what Bob Martin sends me. Not only the plans, but nice little specially made one of these little height gauges. Of course, you put a nice little block of wood on there. That takes all the fun out of having a height gauge. Ouch! Anyway, what you do, you loosen the screw up, get the height that you want to have on it. You just set it by hand. I wouldn't even bother making it any tighter than that. Very nicely made, as all Bob Martin's things are. A nice little handy tool. I love this knot for long. Don't bank on it, Bob. Tomorrow somebody will borrow this. In fact, I never got my original one back. Anyway, appreciate it a whole lot. There's a lot of work to do in the shop here, and we're going to get cranking. First thing, I picked these up at the NATS. They were selling them, and I bought the whole supply of 13-inch ones, figuring that I wanted to go for more diameter anyway. Now, I want to give the address. These come from Bill Lee, Box 2000, or 2200, Route 2, Chandler, Texas, 75758. Now, he was good enough to give me all the information on how to pitch them and how to move them, and they're $20 like this, raw, and they're $30 finished and ready to run. We're going to do the hand finishing, of course, right on the video. And he did a beautiful job. I can tell just by looking at these. They're beautifully made. By the way, anybody who doesn't know, Bill Lee is good for scratching your arm, too. Bill Lee is kind of a special guy in the racing world, team racing world, whatever you want to call it. And he's been working with some of the, it just says the Texas Precision Aerobatic Flyers. I assume that's Gieske and McMillan and Frank Williams. And these are specifically targeted for the PA engines, the PA-60. It's highly undercambered. I don't know if you can see how much undercamber. I'm going to measure the undercamber. The way you measure the undercamber or prop is if you can run a 30-degree triangle and have it run flat across, that's a 30-degree undercamber. These really look super. Now, whether they're going to be, in fact, I just got a splinter. These things are like razor blades. Whether they're going to be appropriate for our setup, we'll yet to see. But even if they aren't, we can learn from them, and we'll have them in stock should we ever have a setup that they'll be appropriate for. And I do have that one special prop that I made at the end of last year. Anyway, just read his thing to make sure I haven't missed. And it's always, this is a great idea. Once in a while, read the directions. Now, what I thought would be a good idea for Bill, and I'm going to run this idea by him real soon, is maybe to make a video of hand finishing a prop, and he can sell that or do away with it or hawk it or whatever he wants to do. And I'm going on, and most of this is stuff we've already experienced ourselves. Finishing tips. Probably you could get a little more than 13-inch diameter out of this. But the most important thing, number one, before we go over the sanding bench and start sanding and carving these, is you get these raw. These are razor blade edges. I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. If you can see this on a macro lens, the way they come out of the mold, they have this flashing here. And it is like absolutely, you can see how much undercamber is in this prop. Now usually an undercambered prop requires a lot more power to turn. But since we're not running anywhere near maximum power on our 60s, I assume we can just dial this up with compression. All right, let's go over to the sanding bench and get one of these shaped out and see what it looks like. The first thing I want to do, I have these carbide edged things that came from England, sanding blocks. And if you ever do this, if you ever pick up a piece of sandpaper and go to say, when you catch that edge, you'll always get it under your fingernail or something. So real carefully, I want to dress that edge off. I'll use a rough one first. Now Bill suggests 80 grit paper. This is an 80 grit carbide. Just to chew that edge right off. And what I decided to do, I'm going to do one of these and go out and test fly it. And then come back, because I don't know in which direction I want to go. Let me just try to show this on the tape if I can. See how quickly that one edge removes? You can get that knocked right down. The other side still has an edge. And you don't really want to change the shape of the prop at this point in time. Uh-oh, I hear President Nixon calling. I also want to true the hub up. At least right now I want to see that that hub is nice and straight. Mainly get all the flashing off. I don't want to lose any of the blade shape. And now you can see the true under-camera mount on there. What I can do, I can finalize this up with a nice, this is about a 120 carbide sheet. One thing nice about this design, it's got a nice small hub. It doesn't have the big, thick hub that adds a lot of extra weight and drag and everything. Bill suggests is you have a little dowel. Well, this is a good place to use a polywog, some 120 grit and a polywog. You can get in this part of the prop. Up until a point where everything is smooth, you really got to be real careful you're not getting any splinters. There's always a little sharp edges on these boards. Well, when I was making up those carbon 5 blades, my hands were full of splinters for about 2 months. Now with the edges removed, you can start to see what the prop really looks like. What I'm going to
is, if I get one of these working real good, I'm just taking all little edges off of this. What I'm hoping to do is get the right pitch in, and of course this is going to need more pitch than if you were using a tune pipe. But get the pitch right and send the prop back to Bill, or get it working even on Woody's plane a little. So it's kind of got a generic Super Tiger 60 pitch in, and he can mold these up, make another mold with the pitch already in it. So that people that are running Tiger 60s or want to continue running them, you can have one that you don't even have to reset the pitch on. It'll be a real nice thing. And Bill seems real willing to do that. Once he has the mold, then he can make and sell the props ready to put right on a Tiger. Now the next thing I want to do, I get to this point where everything is in rough, just roughed out. I have all the edges roughed out. What I want to do is get the diameter gauge and check the diameter so that both blades, the tips of carbon props don't come out of the mold equally. You have to trim them, and I want to trim the big one to match the small one. I don't want to trim them both. I don't want to lose any diameter that I can. Just to mention, another thing that Bill might be able to do is, because he deals with the Ukrainians have some real high-tech carbon mat. I may be able to get some of that mat, I hope. I'm just trying to finish this off with some little bit finer edges here before I check the diameter. I want to get these a little bit radius. I don't want to be handling a butcher's razor blade here for the next hour. It takes roughly an hour to hand finish a prop, somewhere in that range. These props are made out of EPON 815 with the TETA cure, which is exactly what we used on the 5-blade, so Bill and I are both in agreement that that is probably the best material I know of for doing this kind of prop work. And I'm just trying to get all the little inches out of this. It just makes it nicer even handling the prop. If you're interested in one of these props, Bill's number is 903-852-5599. Now, Noel has one of the Randy side exhaust engines, the PAs. This might be an appropriate prop for the side exhaust. I'm sure it's an appropriate prop for the rear exhaust. And we're hoping we're going to be able to get one pitched and in a range that we can use it. Because then all that data can go into the data bank. We'll have a lot more good choices. These props, by the way, finish up a lot quicker than I thought they would. These are really nice. They're really well made.
Okay, now this is our diameter gauge. I have to be careful because the hole in this is oversized. The PA engine has an oversized hole. So I want to see roughly where that diameter is. Now when I spin it around, you can see this one is bigger than that one. So this is the one I want to dress off. Maybe, actually these are pretty close.
Because if we had a lot to take off, I'd do it on a grindstone. Anyway, next week we'll hopefully be able to get out there. I like square tips, but I don't want to have them razor edges. More, I can do it with the fine stone. Now a lot of times what will happen is one person will try a prop and say, don't like that prop, it does this, it does that, whatever. But another person will be able to get it to work, they'll get it pitched right, get the engine load right, and they'll have a lot of success with it. So we're hoping we're going to have some success, or at least something that we can feed back to Bill for making these, assuming that he wants to continue making stunt props, because the object is to get as many manufacturers making things as possible, and then you get your choice of the best.
Okay, let's see. The diameter now is, spin it right around, and we're just a couple of thousandths under the line.
I want to get the true total diameter here. We're going to have to make a bushing for the hub. And this one, I guess each one will be, this one came out 13 1/8. So needless to say, if I was running a 51 or a 46, I could cut this down. But I always want to start with, I don't want to remove any material I don't have to, that's for sure. Now I also want to take, I'll do this over on the glass table, level off the table. I want to lay lay this flat on a table and then measure tip to tip to make sure. These look real good though. In fact, just roughing it out. Even on a not so flat table, they're real close. It probably wouldn't even be an issue. By the way, these nail files with the real smooth stuff, you don't want to leave a razor edge. What happens with a razor edge, it's cracks start at a razor edge. So you want to try to control some of that if you can. Now, of course, the next thing is going to be to get these balanced. Haven't tried to balance these yet. But considering they look pretty good now, the balancing. I got to shut the fan off too. Then I have to make a bushing for the hub, and this will be ready to mount on a plane and give it a try. Again, it may not even be an appropriate prop. It may be something we can't use. It's underpitched, or it doesn't have enough blade area. Okay, that's real close. Always check it the other way. Okay, that's the heavy blade. I'll take some of the material off the back here. Because these are undercambered, you can't really use a sanding block in the back, and I don't want to touch the front face if I can help it. Again, we know the Bollies make good props. We know they're usable in stunt. We know Brian Ether makes nice props. I've made some. There's some people in England, I think, making them too. But I know they're also making them in the Ukraine. Now, that French guy had some from the Ukraine that looked really, really high-tech. I don't know if the pitch is right. I don't know if the motor load is right. But again, I'm not going to know unless I try this. It's certainly within range, even on the weight here. Just a little more, and this one will be perfect. Once I get the props balanced, I always like to run them and get the final little finish on it with some Brillo, the kind that has the steel wool right in it. And then the last thing I want to do is make up a pitch gauge for this particular prop. This is the stuff that already has the silver. Of course, still, even at this point, not to get any splinters in your hand. Boy, these splinters are deadly. Now, the weather report actually is 3 days of rain, so I don't think we're going to get this done in the next couple of days, but I'll have these all balanced, all sitting on a stick, as I always do, ready to try. In fact, I'll put this right out in the toolbox as soon as I'm finished. And what I'll try to do is start somewhere close to where the pitch is on the 14.5s that are cut down. I have that gauge, and I can see just about where the pitch is, and start from that position on. That'll be a good starting point. Again, this gives it a real nice finish, assuming you're not going to paint it. The blades are real thin, so what you can do is make a little wad. This keeps you from getting splinters, too. And it might even be a good idea to get a coat of Simonizer or two on here, just to give it a little more of a finished look. We got roughly an hour into finishing one of these props, so assuming that Bill does it for $10, if you make more than $10 an hour at work, you're wasting money. Have Bill do it. I don't know what they get for Bob. I haven't bought a Bolly prop in a long time, but I know they're a lot of work to get them. Usually a little bit of labor. What I'll also do is engrave a little number in at the hub, so I know I'm going to have 3 of these ultimately. I'll know which is number 1, number 2, number 3. Always good to keep a reference, especially when you're going prop to prop to prop, changing them at the field.
Oh, look at this, the phone rings. Let me get the phone. Okay, President Nixon. Now, one of the things that's supremely important with carbon props is not having this surface or this surface here real smooth. So what I want to do is take an engraving tool and make like a star pattern or knurl it in some way or at least roughen it up. So this gets a bite. I don't want to have this to be smooth. Otherwise, no matter how tight you make the bolt, the prop slips, especially on a 60. Now these are these little engraving tools that sell for about $15. Handy to have. Now the idea is just to get it rough. Now you also, this is for my own reference here, because needless to say these props are lined up on somebody else's plane. We know that this is number one. This is roughed up with a nice knurl, nice pattern of a knurl. That's real important at this point in time. Now the last thing is to get the pitch gauge out and set this for a pitch, at least a starting point where we think it's going to work. But because it's, see, the thing is it's infinitely variable. You can change the pitch anywhere along the prop, all along the prop, and you can make it a smaller and smaller diameter prop, and you can thin the blade. So having one of these, you could actually make this a Fox 35 prop if you wanted to, spend the time doing the handiwork. Very nicely made product, by the way. Now one of the things we can do, this is an old gauge, and we were using 9,500 RPM as the test square one amount. Just want to plug this into a 14.5 rev up and get an idea. This is less pitch. So what I want to do is I want to make this roughly the same pitch as the 14.5. So I can go to the, let's see how much I can take off of here. You can see how much less. There, I can take a new piece of plywood. I want to set this on here. Now because this is a 14, I'm measuring it at a different spot. I really want to be roughly an inch from the tip when I do this. And now I can make sure this is nice and tight and get the new piece of plywood to pick up the pitch. And I'll just hot stuff that on. And that'll be our new gauge. You can see, just to see how much it's off. See the trailing edges up off the gauge? And now I want to put that new piece of wood on there. I want to pick up that whole bottom surface as the pitch. And I just tack glue that on, and that'll be the gauge, so I can reference off of this, which I know is real close, even though the motor load is different. I'll have a good reference then to pitch out that carbon. Oop. I can just hold that there with a little bit of CA on it. Let that kick. Now we have picked up that bottom pitch angle. And that's a reference off of a 14.5 rev up. Okay, now we can take and just check both of these against the gauge. And see, they actually have to be pitched very little. And they're not exactly the same. This one needs to be pitched more than the other one, which is not a significant thing. A lot of people think that's, a big problem. Okay, so we're going to do this with a hairdryer. Heat the blade and just bend it back so that they're both equal, and they're both equal to the pitch on the 14.5, just as a starting point. And of course we can come home, shave the gauge with a sanding block, and then by doing this we can change the pitch very little more or very little less. We can actually do this over and over and over again until we get the
the exact pitch that we'd really like to have for that setup. And then, obviously, the next step is make sure that that gauge is solid. I can do the other two. This way, I'm one step ahead. At a melt point, you see what this is just one way to do it. The melt point for this resin is 165 degrees. Not many people, in fact, I can't touch 165 degrees, so you either need some kind of a little wooden tongs or something like this, and it's a good idea. This is where we're trying to change the pitch, but we don't want it to come out and then change. We kind of like to bend the whole blade little by little by little. And there's a lot of people think it's important to check this prop in 50 different places. I don't. I think the only thing that's really got to be accurate is that last inch. Probably a controversial position, but I've fooled with this part of the prop forever. Almost cannot even tell the difference, but you change this, big time. Now I usually can do this by feel. When it gets too hot for me to touch, it's usually ready to go. Just let this cool for a minute. Now while it's cooling, sometimes I can do this by eye just as quick. There's a lot of ways to do it. Boiling water is another good way. Now you can see real quick, I want to show this. We've gone way too far. You can see how much that's up, but it's still warm now, so I can just kind of coax it back into position. Just a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. You can make a 14 pitch prop. Ooh, that's nice. Just a little bit, just keep working it like it's Play-Doh, because it's going to take a set at about 165 degrees. It's going to stay there. Okay, now we've got, you can see, just a little more pitch than we need. Now I'm going to leave it at a little more pitch than we need for a simple reason. They usually have a little bit of a memory, and in time it'll fade back. So you don't want to, if possible, you don't want to underpitch it, a little bit overpitch, and then just check it after a couple of days of flying, a couple of flights. Again, it takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of technique, and you can always put it right back where it was as long as you have that gauge or some kind of a pitch gauge. I can go back. Now see, I'm right at the point where it's taking a set. That's nice right there. You see, now we're right on. So now it'll just be a question of getting the other blade, getting them both equal, and then recheck the balance. And you can do this infinitely. You can do this 100 times. Actually, you could have the same prop with 6 inches of pitch. Go home, make it 5, make it 4, make it 3 1/4, make it 3 1/8. And as long as you can get an overhead 8 out of it without the motor going over lean, I think you could. There's always a little more performance here. But again, it's always good to have that square one, that rev up. That's always our square one prop. And if this doesn't work out, bolt the other one back on and go flying. Actually, at some point in time, it really gets to be fun doing this, because you really do have some infinite agility. You got it right on the first shot here. It's amazing. A little bit too much. Now, another thing, you don't want to get the prop that you melted either. There's a point at which if you go too far with the heat, it's no good either. And it'll be about a minute or so before it takes a set. Now I can just get a rough idea. So that looks real good. Up on both sides. Now I'll let this cool. Never take cold water and splash it. Let this cool normally, and then I'll rebalance it. This looks like and there's nothing beats just eyeballing it. That's another way of doing it. In other words, when I eyeball a prop, here's what I do. I run my line of sight right down here so that I'm looking at this. So watch this surface here, okay, right there. Now I see one sitting up, right there. And now I can look down the prop, and I can get an idea. But I don't want to look at it that way. I want to look at it so I'm perfectly at 90 degrees. Okay, so we're taking a wild guess that that's going to be our starting point, and now all we need is some weather to go flying. We'll rebalance this, and the day down at the field to see if this is close or if we need to up pitch it, under pitch it, cut the diameter. We got a lot of choices now. And here's what we have so far. Now this is one of the things, and the reason I left this on the end of the NATS tapes, this is one of the things we actually were exposed to at the NATS, and we're going to try to make work. Here's one of the rough ones that still needs to be roughed out. We have an awful lot of stuff coming up real soon. I want to thank everybody that's checked out the NATS tapes, been part of it, part of the action. We really have enjoyed bringing it to you, and possibly in the future, we'll get Peter a little bit polished up. I'm sure he did the best job he could, but what it does, it really expands my ability to capture things on tape. And there's so many things I want to get. I want to try to do the team trials. 4 contests coming up before the team trials, 3 or 4, I think. There's just a whole lot of things left to try and do. And maybe we will ultimately get to that point a year or 2 from now, I don't know, where we're flying a plane that's 2 or 3 years old and we have all these things done ahead of time. We don't know, but for right now, I still love having new planes. I don't know, there's just something about a new shiny plane, especially one just won the concourse award. But I just love it. And I guess if there's one thing that's special to me in a hobby, and I guess I've traded away some of my flying by building these new planes every year, but I mean, this is a collection of concourse trophies. There's 5 in all now. Little bragging rights here. I don't know. I guess you don't have to brag. What am I talking about? Anyway, this is something from which I am truly proud. I guess the only thing I'm even more proud of is my pond. Speaking of that, I got to go feed the fish. I got to do that every day. Now, just in case you're not one of the people that's a real subscriber yet, if this is one of the first tapes you've seen, please feel free to join us by subscribing to the tapes. It's just a lot of fun. It's a great way to share the things that we know, the things that we've done. Every single step of this plane is documented on video for anybody that wants to duplicate it, copy it. Plans are going to be available, canopies available, all kind of little parts available. And I'm just looking at this and I just can't think of what my life would be like without this. This has really been a real special part of my life. It really has been a lot of fun. The Seafire, the 97 NATS. And thanks to video, we were able to share it with you. The last thing I did, I had one more of these 14.5 rev-ups, checked the pitch on it, made sure I had that pitch an inch from the tip the way I wanted it, and this is a real fair comparison. Now this is that special one-of-a-kind that I made last year, and I don't remember if this was a throwaway or what. I don't remember. It's got a big gink in the hub here. I don't think that'll keep it from working. And I also had, this is the one we just got from Bill Lee, and I'll be able to do a real shoot-up comparison. And this is the Bolly.
This we know is a prop like Bill Suarez uses. So we'll have a good, next day we get out to the field, a good comparison of all this stuff. And I'm just trying to look around now. I got those Merkel mufflers that I got from England. I want to try to get one of them ready too. Just trying to get all my details and ducks in a row, as I said in that plan, because what's going to happen is the time is limited. I'm not going to have an infinite time to test this stuff. Yeah, we're coming up on the end of the tape. There are a couple of little jobs I have to do, and what I do is I put these are little projects I need to do. Make a note of the Merkel muffler before I can test it. I need to remove the baffle. There's kind of an X baffle in there, get rid of that. And I need to put these actually on the plane and see where the pressure fitting is going to hit. There's another constraint here that I haven't even given a lot of thought to, is these usually kill power to the point of makes you crazy. But one of the things I want to try to give that a shot, these are the super big ones. They're made for 90s, up to 90, so maybe this will be right. It's a little bit bigger diameter than the original ones that were really for 40s. But I need to get a pressure fitting on this. This is a Randy Hallcroft. It's got the press pins. This should be a really nice unit. It's been gold iridized. I can iridite things. Of course, anybody wants something iridized, just send it to me. Because this is a bigger diameter, I may luckily luck out and be able to use it. I also have the old standbys. I have a Big Art muffler, which was on Tsunami one of the mufflers that was on Tsunami. I got another one that's an experimental one that Bob Jungerine's son made, and again, another Adamusin muffler. And of course, I got the props. Now, the idea of this is, these are the things I'm going to want to test. I pretty much have the test laid out, and I'd like to go through this bump, because, again, that flying time is so limited. So many other projects to work on, too, out by the pond, and my God, Karen's got things lined up because of the NATS. We kind of let a lot of stuff go around the house, including food shopping. I'm getting sick of not eating. So anyway, with this in mind, I'm going to say goodbye. Hope you enjoy the tapes. Hope you've really enjoyed sharing what amounts to be the life and times of bada bing, bada boom. Special thanks to John Batavio, Peter Michael, of course. Anyway, we got one more thing to do before we get out of here, and that's feed the fish. Now, it may not be obvious to somebody why I spend so much time belaboring the idea of these fish. Well, the fish have added a little dimension to my life that was never there before, because I'm a workaholic, totally addicted to working. Oh, I see the frog is out. We have a frog on a lily pad out there. If there's another one out there. I don't know if we can zero in on him. Let's see if we can find him. Where the hell is he? He's right there. See in the middle of the screen? I see that froggy? Right in the middle of the screen right now. There's a frog. We got two that jump and jiggle here. Last night we turned the light on and they forget it. Anyway, what the fish have added to my life is I come out here at night. Normally I'm working till late at night. And by feeding them, it just gives me a little relaxation every night. It gives me a little time to think about, I guess, what's really important in life. You know, my family, my home, my friends, my waterfalls, my frogs. I'm really not sure I know what's important. But anyway, these have really been a special treat. They really are fun to have. And I could suggest to anybody that suffers from the same disease I do, of being a workaholic, hey, get some relaxing fish. Spend 2 years, dig a koi pond. Look at those Bert and Ernie's. Those are my wife's favorite fish, these little fat guys. We call them Bert and Ernie's. That's Bert down there. No, that's Ernie. Bert has a black eye. Bert and Ernie's. I guess there's a lesson here to be learned. Spend a little time and relax. Time is short. We don't all have infinite amounts of time. And I really have to say, one of the things I've come away from this Nationals realizing is that my good friend and mentor Harold Price really is still alive in some of those beautiful finishes that I've seen at the NATS. He really is alive. We're going to name this frog. I'm going to name this little frog Harold the Frog. Anyway, actually, there should be 11 more here soon. They're all getting their wings and wheels and feet. Oh, I'll tell you, this pond has been the love of my life. It really has been. And in a year of winning the concourse and getting a 20-point award, flying pretty well, and then coming home to a nice fish pond. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable how much fun this has been. Now you know what they want. They're sitting here and they want to be fed. See what I do, I shake the hand. Come on, you guys. I'm not kidding. This is the end of a video. I want you guys to come eat. Come on. Come on, they're so afraid of the camera. Camera shy. Come on, eat. Hey, just one last thing. Thanks a lot for sharing this life we have. See you on the next tape. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. Hey, it's the best I can do, given the fact that I have to spend half my life feeding these fish. See you on the next tape. Look at this big one here. Yeah, just feed me. I'm a Super Tiger 60. So one last thing before I say goodbye. This is what I came home from the NATS to find. My wife was in decorating mode again. And all of a sudden our back room turned into everything is birdhouses, birdhouses. Look at all these birdhouses she buys. Now you wonder why I have to work 3 jobs to pay for the birdhouses, the feeds, the seeds, the carbon props, the videotapes that people borrow and never give back. But boy, I never for 1 minute think, I'd want to switch places with anybody. Hey, Oscar Vans is going to be here this weekend with his Siamese cat, or his wife Catherine's Siamese cat. Anybody knows I had a Siamese cat at one time. 21 years he was in the shop, his name was Buster, but can't wait to see your cat, Catherine. We're looking forward to it. Joe Ortiz's party is this weekend. We're going to try to shoot that. The flushing contest. Maybe even testing some carbon props. It's all coming.